At a family dinner, Dad casually announced, "We're going to Europe without you." Right then Ashley, my golden child sister, added her own comment. I blinked and waited for a punchline, but before I could speak, Ashley jumped in with a smile, as if she just told the funniest joke ever. The table burst into awkward, half-hearted laughter, the kind where no one's quite sure if it's okay to laugh. I wasn't really mad. It was just another reminder that I was always the odd one out. This wasn't the first time. In the past few years, my parents had taken 4 big trips without inviting me. I'd always come up with an excuse, work, scheduling conflicts, and the like, but tonight I was done pretending. So when everyone laughed, I joined in, catching them all off guard. I leaned back in my chair and asked, "What money do you plan to use for this trip?" Mom and Dad exchanged confused looks. "What do you mean?" Dad asked, his grin fading. I chuckled and shook my head. "You know Ashley and her husband blew all the money you gave them, right?" In an instant, Ashley's expression hardened. "That's not true," she snapped. Dad's face darkened as he demanded, "What money are you talking about?" I sighed and laid it all out. "The money you gave Ashley and Josh to save for a house isn't going toward a down payment. It's all gone. They're spending it on clubs, restaurants, and other nonsense. The accounts you set up for them are empty." For a moment, no one moved. Dad stared at Ashley, then at Josh, who looked like he wished he could vanish. Mom's mouth dropped open as she tried to process what I'd just said. "Ashley, Kevin's lying," she blurted. But Ashley shot back, "You always do this. You can't stand to see me happy, so you make up stories to turn Mom and Dad against me." I shrugged and replied, "You can check the accounts yourself. It won't take long to see who's telling the truth." Josh stayed silent, just staring at his plate, as if hoping everyone would forget he was even there. Ashley glared at him, and that only fueled her anger. In a flash, the argument exploded. My parents began yelling at Ashley and Josh, demanding answers, while Ashley fired off her own retorts. I sat back for a minute and watched the chaos, feeling like all the years of favoritism, broken promises, and silent grudges were finally coming to a head. I'd had enough. Quietly, I got up and walked out, and no one even noticed. What was meant to be a celebration for Ashley had turned into a full-blown war. Honestly, I didn't feel guilty at all. After years of being treated like an afterthought and only being invited to family events because Grandma insisted, I figured they had it coming. Maybe now they'd finally see Ashley for who she really was. The next morning, my phone exploded with missed calls and texts from Mom and Dad asking where I was, and if I was okay. As if they just remembered I existed. I didn't respond immediately. I wasn't eager to dive back into their drama after last night's circus. When I finally called Mom back, she practically vibrated on the line. "Kevin, why didn't you tell us sooner?" she demanded. I laughed lightly. "Do you think you'd have believed me if I had?" She fell silent for a moment. I could tell she was thinking it over, probably realizing that I'd been right all along. Over the years, they'd always sided with Ashley, the perfect, untouchable golden child, while I was the perpetual loser. Even after I got fired from my last job, it wasn't just the pitying looks I got from them. It was the way they acted as if I wasn't even worth their time. Without Grandma's constant insistence that I come to family gatherings, they probably would have stopped inviting me altogether. We later checked the accounts and Mom finally admitted, "You were right, Kevin. Ashley and Josh have been blowing through their savings for months. I'd heard rumors from mutual friends who'd seen them dining at expensive restaurants and hitting up nightclubs. I hadn't planned on saying anything, but after Dad's little announcement last night, I just couldn't keep quiet. This wasn't only about the Europe trip, it was about years of feeling like an outsider. So what's going to happen now? I asked more out of curiosity than concern. "Well, your father's furious," Mom said softly. "He's been fighting with Ashley all morning. Josh left early and hasn't come back. We're trying to figure out what to do next." Her voice then softened even more. "Look, Kevin, I'm sorry for everything. We didn't realize how bad things had gotten between you and Ashley. We want to make things right." I wasn't sure how to respond, so I simply said, "Okay." After hanging up, I sat there for a long while, letting it all sink in. I wasn't sure if I could trust this sudden change of heart. Was it genuine? Or was it just embarrassment over how badly things had turned out with Ashley? A part of me even wondered if they were just ashamed of being so blind for so long. Still, a small part of me felt relieved, maybe, just maybe, things could finally change. Later that afternoon, Dad called. At first, he grumbled about how disappointed he was in Ashley, and how Josh was nothing but a freeloader. Then he surprised me. "Listen, Kevin, your mom and I have been talking, and we want to make it up to you. How about you come on a trip with us, just us, no Ashley?" I had to stop myself from laughing. "You're serious?" "Yeah, we're thinking of taking a simple road trip up the coast, just to spend some quality time together. We owe you that much." This was completely new. A year ago, the idea of my parents inviting me on a trip by myself would have been unthinkable, yet here they were trying to make amends. It felt strange but somehow satisfying. As if all those years of being overlooked were finally starting to pay off. I'll think about it, I said, trying to sound casual. Good. Let us know, Dad replied before hanging up. I knew this wasn't over. Ashley wouldn't back down without a fight, and I doubted Josh would stick around much longer, especially now that my parents were turning against her. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had the upper hand. It wasn't really about revenge, okay, maybe a little, but it was mostly about finally getting some recognition. They couldn't ignore me anymore. The next day I got another call, this time from Ashley. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the best of me. I figured she'd either apologize or start yelling. With her, it was always one or the other. You really think you're hot stuff now, don't you? She hissed as soon as I picked up. I sighed. What do you want, Ashley? You had no right to bring that up in front of everyone. She snapped. You ruined everything. Josh is pissed my husband might leave and Mom and Dad won't stop grilling me. All because you couldn't keep your mouth shut. Maybe you should have thought about that before you blew all their money. I shot back, this isn't my fault, Ashley. You did this to yourself. You think you're better than me, but you've been unemployed for months, basically living off Grandma's charity. The only reason they invited you to dinner was because she begged them. And now look at you. You're the one who's broke, not me. Good luck explaining that to Mom and Dad, she growled before hanging up. Typical Ashley. Always shifting the blame when things don't go her way. I thought that would be the last I'd hear from her for a while, but I was wrong. Later that day, Mom called again. Kevin, can you come over? Things are escalating. Josh packed up his stuff and left, and Ashley is in a really bad place right now. She's saying some disturbing things. I hesitated, part of me wanted to stay out of it, but I couldn't shake the guilt. Despite all our clashes, I didn't want anything bad to happen to her. I'll be there soon, I promised. When I arrived at my parents' house, the tension was thick. Ashley paced in the living room, ranting about how everyone was against her. Mom and Dad sat on the couch looking exhausted, and Josh was nowhere in sight. Are you happy now? Ashley spat as soon as she saw me. Josh left because of you. He doesn't want to face Mom and Dad, I replied calmly. Don't put that on me, she snapped. You don't understand anything. You think I'm just some spoiled brat, but I've been under so much pressure. Josh has been unemployed for almost a year, and we didn't want to tell anyone because we knew you'd judge us. That caught me off guard. I hadn't known Josh was unemployed. So why didn't you ask for help instead of spending all that money? We thought we could handle things on our own, but everything went downhill and now I'm the bad guy. For the first time in years, I heard her speak honestly. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then she added, and of course you couldn't wait to kick me when I was down. That's not what this is about, I said, shaking my head. I just wanted Mom and Dad to see the truth. Yeah, well, congratulations, mission accomplished, she retorted before I could reply. Before I could say anything further, Dad stood up and declared, enough. We've all made mistakes, but this fighting isn't helping anyone. Ashley, you have to take responsibility for your actions, and Kevin, you're not off the hook either. We should have been there for you when you lost your job. We're a family, and we need to start acting like one. It was a rare moment of clarity from Dad. He was usually the last one to admit a mistake. I wasn't sure how much of this family unity speech was genuine, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of hope that maybe we could finally change. Too much damage had been done over the years, but at least it was a start. After a tense silence, Ashley finally muttered, whatever, and stormed off to her old bedroom. I stayed a little longer talking to Mom and Dad about everything that had happened. They seemed determined to make things right with me, which felt strange after being treated like an outsider for so long. But I wasn't going to make it easy for them. They'd have to earn my trust again. As I was leaving, Dad stopped me at the door. Hey, about that trip, we've been looking at some places. We'd really like you to come with us. I hesitated, then nodded. I'll think about it. When I got home, I found a text from Grandma. Proud of you, Kevin. You deserve better. It hit me harder than I expected. She was the only one who'd always been in my corner. Now, for the first time, it felt like my parents were finally coming around. But I knew it wasn't over. There were still a lot of cracks in our family that needed to be mended. And Ashley? I had a feeling her problems were just beginning. I didn't expect to hear from Grandma so soon, but she called me early the next morning. Her voice was calm, but there was a sharpness to her tone I hadn't heard in a long time. Kevin, I thought you should know what happened with your sister, she began. I sat up, already feeling a sense of dread. What did she do this time? Grandma sighed. She came over late last night. She was drunk and angry at me for always supporting you. She said you turned Mom and Dad against her. And it was all my fault for coddling you. I wasn't surprised. Ashley had always been obsessed with being the golden child. After last night's explosion, she must have felt like her image was crumbling. But what Grandma said next completely caught me off guard. She tried to threaten me, Kevin. Can you believe that? Wait, threaten? What do you mean? She said if I didn't make things right, she'd tell everyone I was losing it and try to take control of my finances. She said she'd convince your parents I was no longer fit to live alone. I was stunned. She said that. Grandma's voice hardened. She did. But she didn't expect me to fight back. I told her I wouldn't be blackmailed by my own granddaughter. I warned her I'd call the police if she didn't leave. Did she leave? I asked, a knot of fear forming in my chest. Not at first. She tried to bluff me, said I wouldn't dare. But you know me, Kevin, I don't play games. I called the cops right in front of her. That finally scared her off. She ran out like a coward. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ashley had always been manipulative, but this was a new low. Threatening Grandma just to get back at me? That was beyond anything I'd ever imagined. Why would she go that far? I asked, shaking my head. Simple, Grandma said. She's desperate. You exposed her lies. For years, your parents believed she was the perfect daughter. Now that image is shattered and she blames you for ruining it. She's lashing out because she's afraid of losing control. I didn't know what to say. Part of me was angry, but another part just felt sad. Ashley had always been competitive with me, always needing to be the center of attention. But this was the first time I realized how fragile her world really was. I'm sorry, Grandma, I said quietly. Don't be, she replied. This isn't your fault. Ashley made her choices. But you have to be careful. I don't think she's done trying to cause trouble. Yeah, I thought so, I muttered. Grandma paused, then added, You're not alone in this, Kevin. Your parents are starting to see the truth, and I'll always have your back. Don't let her get to you. I won't, I promised. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. Ashley was spiraling, and it was only a matter of time before she tried something else. But this time I wasn't going to let her take me down with her. After the incident at Grandma's, word spread fast. I didn't even need to tell Mom and Dad. Grandma had already filled them in. And that was the final straw. My parents cut Ashley off completely. No more money, no more support. They stopped taking her calls, blocked her on everything, and made it clear that until she took responsibility for her actions, she wasn't welcome in their lives. It was surreal. The same parents who had defended her at every turn for years were now done with her. Ashley didn't handle it well. She tried everything. Angry texts, guilt trips, even showing up at Dad's office. Nothing worked. Slowly, she faded out of our lives. I didn't hear much about her for weeks. Josh, meanwhile, officially moved out and filed for divorce. He wasn't a great guy, but I guess even he had reached his limit with her. I figured Ashley was probably couch surfing somewhere, biding her time until she found a way to claw her way back. Then, about 2 months later, she showed up at my parents' house out of the blue. I wasn't there, but Mom filled me in on what happened. She just appeared on our doorstep, Mom said over the phone. She looked awful, like she hadn't slept or eaten properly in weeks. What did she want? I asked, though I could already guess. She said she had nowhere else to go. She begged us to let her stay just for a while. Said she was ready to start over and fix things. And we told her no. I was honestly shocked. You really turned her away? Yes, Mom said firmly. Your father and I agreed we couldn't enable her anymore. We told her she needed to take accountability for everything she'd done to us, and to you. And until she did that, she couldn't stay here. How did she take it? Not well, Mom admitted. She got angry, accused us of abandoning her, said we were brainwashed by you and Grandma. But we stood our ground. Eventually, she left. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. For once, my parents had put their foot down. It was weird. Part of me felt bad for Ashley. She was my sister after all. But another part of me felt vindicated. She had always gotten away with everything, always been the favorite. Now she was finally facing the consequences. What do you think she's going to do now? I asked. I don't know, Mom said softly. I just hope she figures things out. But Kevin, we're not going to let her hurt this family anymore. We're done. Hearing that gave me a strange sense of closure. For years, I'd been the one cast aside while Ashley got everything handed to her. Now the tables had turned. A few days later, I heard through a mutual friend that Ashley was staying at a cheap motel on the edge of town. No job, no husband, no family to rely on. She had burned all her bridges. For the first time in her life, she was completely on her own. A few months passed, and just like that, Ashley became a ghost. I barely heard anything about her, and neither did my parents. Word spread through family and friends that she'd moved to another city a few hours away. No one knew exactly where, and honestly no one seemed eager to find out. It was like everyone finally saw her for what she was. A manipulator who couldn't handle not being in control. As for me, things actually started improving. Mom and Dad were making a real effort. We spent more time together, had normal conversations without the usual tension, and even talked about the things that had happened over the years. They admitted they hadn't been fair to me, especially after I lost my job. It wasn't some magical overnight fix, but it felt like we were finally becoming a real family. The road trip Dad had mentioned? We actually went on it, just me and my parents. It was weird at first. There was this awkwardness hanging in the air, like none of us knew how to act without Ashley around. But as the days went on, that awkwardness faded. We laughed, shared stories, and for the first time in forever, I didn't feel like the extra kid no one wanted around. Ashley, meanwhile, tried a different approach. After months of silence, she reached out to me again. This time, there were no threats, no accusations. Instead, she played the victim. "Kevin, I know I messed up," she wrote in one of her messages. "I'm sorry for everything. I've been through so much. Josh left me, Mom and Dad turned their backs on me, and now I'm all alone. I don't have anyone. Please, can we just talk?" I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to believe her. Maybe she really was ready to change. But another part of me, the smarter part, knew better. I'd seen this pattern too many times. Ashley didn't reach out because she cared about me. She reached out because she wanted something. And I wasn't going to fall for it again. I didn't respond. Neither did my parents when she tried to contact them again. They were done with her games. The last I heard, Ashley was still living alone in that new city. She'd found a part-time job and was scraping by, but she hadn't made any real progress. No big comeback story. Just her, isolated and trying to rebuild the life she'd wrecked with her own choices. It's strange. I used to resent her so much, but now I just feel indifferent. I don't hate her anymore, but I don't pity her either. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. As for me, life's finally looking up. My parents and I have a healthy relationship now, and they've stopped treating me like an outsider. I've even started looking for a new job and working on getting my life back on track. It's funny how things can turn around when people finally stop pretending everything's perfect. For once, I feel like I'm not the loser of the family anymore. I'm just Kevin. And honestly, that's enough for me. And that's how things ended with Ashley. Sometimes the people who try to control everything end up losing it all. I guess she learned that the hard way.